Greetings, all you miraculous people out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm coming at you with another episode review of Miraculous Ladybug. This time, it's the Season 3 episode titled Startrain. Now, this is an episode that very much should have come earlier on in this season. However, because of the various mix up in the way that they've been airing these episodes. No matter where you are, even if you're watching on Netflix, I've gone over this before in previous episodes, but things are very, very, very out of order. And I'll make a little iCard when we get to that main point so that you can see just how off kilter this episode kinda is. But we pick up with the episode where Marinette is actually returning the Fox Miraculous to Master Fu after a lengthy battle previously. But Tiki is explicit on having Marinette explain about her class field trip, but Marinette basically just explains that she already understands that she wouldn't be able to go on such a field trip because if she's not there in Hawkmoth attacks, Cat Noir and the other heroes wouldn't be able to actually deal with the Akuma, since only her power is actually able to de-evilize the Akuma. However, Master Fu actually hands Marinette the Horse Miraculous with the power of transportation, this ability called Voyage, which is, would be able to transport her quickly back to Paris should something happen, since they'll be leaving towards London. So he wants her to actually have some downtime because he feels that she'd actually deserve it, which is very nice. It's kind of weird. It's a weird juxtaposition because normally you would see things happen in the reverse in most series where she's desperate to go on this trip and she's being advised against it. But Marinette has proven time and time again how responsible of a person she is, and that's why Master Fu is doing this, because she is so responsible. Meanwhile, Adrian, being a little irresponsible, is actually being dropped off at school. However, he makes a bit of a detour to the class field trip. We also get to see Roger Cop and Sabrina, who is being transported to the train station. And this train has really been a big focus of a lot of episodes ever since it came into the picture. But, new set pieces and all that, you want to get your most out of them, because with 3D animated series, you don't want to be constantly changing around your background sets and stuff. Doing that takes a lot of effort and time, and, that can be very wasteful in a lot of places. But Sabrina basically has to stop Roger Cop at every turn because he constantly sees people doing things that is just like, I gotta find him, like he's jonesing for that fix of finding people for these, little misdemeanors here and there. But Sabrina convinces him and gets him to hold back so that she can quickly get to the train and basically be Chloe's servant. But Roger Cop, he's just holding himself back so much, he's really starting to kind of feel this pent-up aggression within him, leaving him prone to Hawkmoth, which is something that Adrian noted shouldn't happen because he just attacked last night. Like, come on, man. But nay, ain't no rest for the wicked. As Sabrina continues to point out that, hey, we gotta get there on time, I gotta get there for Chloe, and Roger Cobb actually just takes some deep breaths and he manages to calm down, kind of befuddling the Akuma and leaving Roger Cobb out of the grasp of Hawkmoth. Meanwhile, we actually get to see Alia, Marinette, and Max being dropped off by Max's mother, Claudia, who is actually expecting an email as she goes about things. And she, is all too happy to, drop off Max's friends and all that good stuff. She's actually the conductor of the train and all that good stuff. So that's her role in all of this. And they managed to spot Adrian, who has actually managed to make it despite the fact that normally he would never be able to in most circumstances, which Marinette is all too happy to see. And Adrian explains to Nino that he was only able to go because he didn't quite point out to his dad that he was going on this trip to, London. But you would think that he would need a permission slip in order to do something like this. That's usually how something like this should work. So either Adrian forged his dad's signature, or this school is very bad about doing stuff like this, because permission slips, make sure you keep track of these children. You don't want them getting lost in London and then you're liable for all of this. Someone did bad here. And we even get to see the conductor's chamber, or the engineer's cabin, pilot's cabin. I'm not really sure what it's called, but Claudia shows off the various controls, including the dead man switch, which he has to hold on to throughout the entire course of the trip, which I don't remember if that's an actual thing in most trains, because I've only really ever seen fictional trains, and most of them don't have something like that I know of. But it would make sense for such a high-tech train like this. If you have to stop at a moment's notice, having something like a dead man switch which will stop the train as soon as she lets go, like should she feel faint or something along those lines. That's actually brilliant planning, and it's a redundancy that I could very much see in terms of regular trains and stuff like that. But when Alia, who has apparently a train blog or space blog or something like that, because apparently she has a wide variety of different blogs, starts to ask Claudia about if this is what she always wanted to do with her life. We actually find out that originally she wanted to be an astronaut, but she put those plans on hold because she, had Max and she didn't want to be away from his life. But now that Max is older, she's actually started to pursue that dream of becoming an astronaut one day, which is actually something very interesting, because you don't see that too much with older characters in most animated programming. Most of the time they're stuck in one position that they either love or they hate. And they're trying to get out of it. But it's not like she hates this job. It's just that she has something else she's kind of been aspiring towards. And that, honestly, is a very good lesson, that no matter how old you get, it's never wrong to still pursue your deepest dreams to some degree. Never give up on those dreams, kids. We also see Sabrina is very prepared for any of Chloe's needs, and man, this girl needs a lot more credit for all the work she puts towards all of this. But as Roger Kopp helps her pack everything up, the Akuma gets packed in as well. And as Roger Kopp kind of gives into his, deeper feelings, he becomes completely out of Hawkmoth's grasp, as well as the Akuma, because it's getting further and further to the limits of Hawkmoth's range of control, which is something we never really saw before, that he has a set range that he's only able to control things within. And Paris is a large city, so it would make sense that the further out you go, the less control he'd have. But, Chloe is prepared for all this various different stuff as well, apparently thinking that London will be cold this time of year, when I'm pretty sure this should be taking place around the summertime, so she's prepared for pretty much nothing. But, Chloe F's off to first class, and Sabrina, makes sure she's all nice and comfy and all that. I swear to God, I want to love Chloe, but man, there are just too many times that Chloe is just a little jerk, and I can't stand it. I can't stand it, because after all this time, she still hasn't truly grown. Like, she has, but it's never significant enough to stay with her as a character. But Marinette is dead tired from all the crime fighting she's been doing, and she brushes it off as just being like, oh, I've just been planning how to get close to Adrian and tell him how I feel and stuff like that. But we also get to see that this train is actually equipped with these little servant bots who, these steward bots who, give refreshments and all that good stuff, which an interesting form of technology that I'm pretty sure most trains should implement at some point down the line. A lot can happen in 10, 20 years. But Marinette just straight up passes out, and Alia takes this moment to switch with Adrian, saying she wants to talk with Nino. And Marinette ends up just passing right out on Adrian, as he just kind of accepts it. He's not really in the know about boundaries and how this kind of looks. And the girls of the class are all about the way this looks and how adorable it is. But one girl in particular is less than interested in this cutesy wootsy scene, and that is naturally Lila, as she tries to break it up. But Alia's got her girls back as she goes in, and it's just like, hey, what do you need, Lila? Hopefully we can help you out. And Lila makes up her usual lying Lila about, oh, well, I'm feeling a bit motion sick, and Marinette always has a cure or remedy, and I was hoping she could help me out. Only for the ever-prepared Sabrina to come in and say, oh, I've got a remedy right in Chloe's bag that I have for her. Meanwhile, Claudia is still very much kind of really waiting on that email, because she did apply to be an astronaut, but she's waiting to see if she got approved. And despite the fact that Max is just like, relax, it'll come later down the line, it'll be okay, she's really, really kind of focused on seeing if that email came through. And it's kind of cute now, for the most part. It's not like she's not trying to do her job. She's just worried. She's just anxious, because this is an event of a lifetime. Very few people actually get to go out into space like this. But as Sabrina goes in order to get the stuff out of her bag, out flies the Akuma, and Chloe, stepping forward as the notable hero, Queen Bee, ferries everyone out of the position. With Hawkmoth, once again, still kind of getting a bit of a connection and just seeing all the various feelings and emotions just racing throughout the car. But unfortunately, as everyone gets out of the car, he's just completely cut off. And with the train getting further and further away, it's basically become a lost cause. And as all the passengers, retreat further back in, they're just like, is it an actual Akuma? What's going to happen? Where's Ladybug and Cat Noir? If it was a real Akuma, blah, blah, blah. And Marinette's still just half asleep. She's, just kind of, I don't know if she really notices what the situation that she is in, or if she just thinks it's kind of like a dream or something. It's hard to say, but she's taking full advantage of it. Meanwhile, Nino and Alia inspected the car and just couldn't find the Akuma, only for it to escape into the events. And as Claudia's worries continue to just, grow more and more, her innate fear that she might not be accepted as an astronaut, in comes the Akuma, affecting the dead man switch. And she ends up being possessed, but without the reception from Hawkmoth, she just kind of dubs herself Startrain, and she becomes akumatized and transforms the entirety of the train, and puts out an announcement that the train will now be leaving the atmosphere. Everyone's going on a journey on the Galaxy Express 39. 5 points if you manage to get that reference. And as everyone is basically kind of lost in space, they don't know what to do. It's just like, how will anyone find us? We're all the way out in space. Is Ladybug and Cat Noir even going to be able to help us in this situation? And Gabriel is quickly informed by Natalie about the situation, because the satellites picked up, the train just leaving Earth's atmosphere, like something like that, just leaving the atmosphere would immediately go noticed by most media outlets. And Gabriel kind of, hears that Adrian went on this field trip without his permission, and he thinks of the irony that now he has to rely on Ladybug and Cat Noir to hopefully get his son back home safe in one piece. And as everyone tries to help Max to the front of the train so he can hopefully bring his mother out of this little bit of a crazed state, unfortunately, she's having none of it and won't even listen to Max's words of trying to get his mom to stop all of this. So they have to figure something else out, with the Marionette figuring that if all of them together try to make their way to the front of the car, at least they should be able to do something with their sheer numbers. So, as everyone makes their way to the front of the train, Adrian lags behind so that he can transform into Cat Noir. However, Startrain immediately notices everyone trying to make their way towards her and kind of jukes the train itself in order to throw them further back inside. But Marinette manages to make it to one of the bathrooms and transforms into Ladybug, running into Cat Noir, with Cat Noir simply saying that he was on the train already and nobody would notice him since there's so many passengers, and Ladybug lying and saying that she used the horse Miraculous to transport herself to the actual vessel, which, is actually a fairly good point. Like, yeah, I guess that could work, because we'll see it later down the line that, you can actually use two Miraculous or more at once, which I don't know why it's not done more often. But, they try to formulate a plan on how to get all the way to the front of the car. And they, head back, try to make sure everyone, gets themselves all the way to the back, because they got to figure out what to do, because they can't use the horse Miraculous to transport it back to Earth, because that could just create more trouble. They don't want to deakumatize Startrain, because then it would just cause nobody to be able to breathe out into space, or, they're trying to work out the kinks, but they want everyone towards the back just in case. And we even have this little moment where Chloe asks about if they brought her Miraculous, since they said that they used the horse Miraculous in order to get here. But unfortunately, they did not, which, I'm pretty sure this is before the episode where they had to kind of, is it after? It should technically be after the episode where they had to kind of explain to Chloe that she can't be a Miraculous user anymore. Should have linked that in the iCard as well for that episode. But they're trying their best to make it to the front, but, Startrain has locked all the doors. But with the aid of Max and Markov, with Markov doing his little R2-D2 thing of opening the various different doors, they're able to make their way forward, with Max joining them on their adventure. However, they are once again sealed in, so Ladybug uses her lucky charm to make a fireman's helmet, which she can't really figure out how to use, because her Ladybug vision isn't really working too much here. And it's made even worse when Startrain starts to use this massive blast of heat in order to blow them further back in the train. And when Markov tries to open one of the doors yet again, he starts to overheat, but Max uses some water in order to cool him down, which I don't think that should work like that. Like, I don't know if Markov is made for water cooling, but they managed to make it in, to the intersection by the next train car. And, Cat Noir actually compliments how well Markov and Max work together. Unfortunately, Ladybug notices that the next car up ahead seems to be freezing over, and Markov explains that the oxygen has been taken completely out of the car, so it's about to reach absolute zero. And because Max would not be able to survive in such intense conditions without the superpowers provided by the Miraculous, Ladybug hands over the horse Miraculous and gives the whole spiel that he has to hand it over. Now, in the iCard above right now, you should see that we've already seen the form that Max takes, namely Pegasus, because episodes aired out of order. This should technically, by production, be episode 13, but because of the way that these various episodes have been put out, you ended up seeing not just Max as Pegasus, but, spoiler, Luca as Viperion, I think it was, that they're both miraculous holders. So, I don't know whose fault that is, but it just goes to show that these studios, who's ever putting this out, they need to adhere to the production release schedules. Release it in terms of production, because you end up with problems like this where you're showing episodes that happen later on in the series earlier in the series, and by not at least making sure that these 3 episodes, Startrain, the episode Party Crasher, as well as the episode with Luca turning into who he's supposed to be, by not making sure that those came out concurrently in sequential order, one after the other, you end up spoiling things that should not be spoiled. But I've literally gone on this tirade pretty much 4 times now. But I don't know if it's gonna come to mean anything, because even Jeremy Zag is just putting out spoilers willy-nilly left and right. Because if you follow Jeremy Zag on his social media, he's spoiled several other Miraculous holders already. So maybe they just don't care about the way things are released. It's really hard to say. But we also get to see the Kwame of the Horse Miraculous, who is a vain little thing called Kalaki, who immediately questions if Max is famous or not. So, an interesting combination of characters, but Marinette tells him to knock that off, and she plans everything out with Max and Cat Noir. So Max does his little transformation sequence and becomes the hero Pegasus, which, it seems, I think it was Marinette who actually ended up naming him. He didn't name himself, which we actually saw in a previous episode that other characters can actually do. Once again, link in the iCard. But, the trio, foursome with Markov of heroes make their way through the car, where we also come to find out that once you get those superpowers, you are fairly resilient. Temperature doesn't seem to mean much to you if you can survive an absolute 0, but the various Stewart bots start to attack. We actually get to see for the third character, because we've seen it for Marinette as well as Adrian, but we're also seeing it for Max, that he has that kind of planning vision, this miraculous vision, with his Pegasus vision, I guess you could say. And he uses it to bounce his boomerang off various objects in order to strike down the bots. Unfortunately, as Markov tries his best to open the door, he starts to freeze up. But Marinette uses her vision in order to find the heating pads, and using it in conjunction with the fireman's helmet, is able to insulate Markov so that he can open the door proper, letting everyone through. Ladybug ties up Startrain, and Cat Noir uses his Cataclysm to destroy the dead man's switch kind of thingy in order to free the Akuma. And as everything starts to de-Akumatize, Pegasus uses his power of voyage in order to open up a portal, sending everyone to, their destination in London. But Ladybug unleashes the Miraculous Ladybug, sending everyone safely back to Paris. And Max relinquishes the Horse Miraculous back to Ladybug, and she de-akumatizes the character, and, they give their victory fist bump and all that good stuff. And, Max is, able to have a job well done. And as everyone gets ready to reboard the train so they can at least try to proceed with their trip, and we also get to see that Claudia actually did end up passing, which Max had no doubt of. She had very high probability of it, so she'll get to actually live out her dream of becoming an astronaut. Unfortunately, speaking of which, Adrian unfortunately will not be able to live out this dream of going on a trip with his best pal Nino, as he's his bodyguard and Natalie have come to pick him up. So there's always next time. And Marinette's a little bit dejected by not being able to go on this trip with Adrian, but Alia managed to get her a nice little keepsake for this little moment. Namely that she actually got fairly closer to Adrian than she normally would have if she was awake. Thus ending our episode. A fun episode, a fun little romp. Again, should have been more impactful than it was because it was spoiled. It was spoiled hard because Pegasus wasn't one of the characters who were spoiled on Jeremy Zag or the Ladybug social media. He was spoiled because it was just put out way too early. Like, guys, build the suspense for these characters and these events. Don't just spoil it and just say, oh, well, like some people want to find out, want to be surprised by some of this stuff. But, the Ladybug team doesn't seem to think too much of it, so just kind of gotta roll with it. But depending on which region you live in, you're going to get spoiled regardless because of the way things are released, and can't really do too much about that. But, Chloe, your thoughts and feelings for the new hero Pegasus, and how many more interesting situations he might end up in, and how many other members of Marinette's class will actually end up being superheroes. Because at some point you think someone's going to put 2 and 2 together and be like, man, a lot of the kids from this one class, well, then again, nobody would really know. Like, Paris is a big place and it could be anyone, but you think at some point someone would spill the beans, but then again, that person ended up being Chloe, and she can no longer be a Miraculous holder because of that. So it's very hard to tell if it will ever be revealed anyone's secret identities, but they really do try to, show how important it is to keep this under wraps. Chloe really shot herself in the foot by revealing who she was because of her own arrogance, and that continues to have repercussions throughout the course of this series, which I'm glad for. It's unfortunate because she actually does a fairly good job as Queen Bee, but they've gone out of their way to make sure you know why it's a bad thing for her to have done that. So, thoughts, feelings, and theories in the comments section below. If you liked this video, leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you never miss out on another Miraculous Ladybug episode review. And if you want to find me on social media, just Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I'm everywhere for better or for worse. Over 18 only, please. I'm up to some really weird stuff. And if you want to, until the next video, I should say, until the next video, I just want you to remember, it's never too late to try to achieve your dreams. No matter what, just give it a try and see what happens. See how far you can get. Sometimes you'll be delightfully surprised. And until the next video, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and it's high time I went to bed, because I'm feeling almost as tired as Marinette right there. Bye-bye.